what a week. With so much going on, it can be hard to keep track. Some parties have some really good ideas. Some parties might make you shake your head, and one party in particular hasn't been doing a whole lot other than slinging mud. First party in my lineup is the Alberta Independence Party, who just earned official party status last week. Dave Bjorkman would be leading his 46 candidates with the goal of separating from Canada. Now, if they were ever to form government, they would start this process within 40 days, and they promised things like no GST and no personal income tax to those earning $45,000 a year or less. Personally, not a fan of separation, but I do get the sentiment behind it. However, with that being said, when I looked at all the logistics of separation, it is definitely a daunting task, and I have yet to see solutions for each and every obstacle that would come with it from the AIP. Next up are the Alberta Liberals, who want to improve, streamline, and increase funding for immigration. They'd also reform our electoral policy by keeping big corporation and big union dollars out of our elections. I really don't see the Liberals gaining many seats in Alberta, though. Eric Fildebrandt's Freedom Conservatives really hit the ground running with presenting plans for things like the pine beetle infestation, the Parents' Bill of Rights, immigration, and a strong energy platform. The platform of Unleashing Alberta's Energy is fairly aggressive, but the basis of it is energy freedom for Alberta. He would end curtailment, a plan which he equates to that which is going on in Venezuela right now. He would cancel the carbon tax, and he would join the fight against the Trudeau carbon tax. Eric would have zero issues turning the taps off on BC and would demand that Trudeau sell the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion back to the private sector, but we all know how well that would go considering Trudeau overpaid for the project. Eric is not scared to go toe-to-toe with anyone when it comes to our energy sector, and he announced that he is fully prepared to take the gloves off. When it comes to immigration, I really like his stance, and that is if unemployment levels are really high, immigration will be low, and vice versa. He would also push for private sponsorship rather than government sponsorship to anyone coming to Alberta, and all new immigrants would have to assimilate to our ways and be just Albertans, period. Now, sometimes the Alberta Party seems to have all their ducks in a row, but every now and then they just randomly wander off, like when leader Stephen Mandel announced that he would have a gender-balanced cabinet. Now, like many of you, I want people put into positions because they are the most well-equipped and qualified to handle those jobs. I don't care what your gender is. Thankfully, Mandel reined himself back in with a plan for some much-needed jobs in his Welcome to Alberta program, where corporations would receive a 2-year tax holiday if they were to move their head office to Alberta. He also took a jab at BC, saying that they have been a poor partner in Confederation, they've hijacked the coast, and they have bled jobs from Alberta. So to combat that, corporations relocating their head offices from BC to Alberta would receive a 3-year tax holiday. If running a fear and smear campaign were an Olympic sport, the NDP would get gold each and every time, especially when it comes to their deep-rooted hatred of Jason Kenney. At this point, we get it. We know you don't like him. Rachel Notley hasn't made too many announcements this week, but what she has announced are what she calls the priciest points of her platform. So hang on to your wallets, folks. The $25 a day daycare program would become subsidized at the cost of $1.5 billion over 5 years, but would only run in non-for-profit family-ran day homes. Private daycare facilities could see a loss of spaces, which would actually result in them closing their doors. So what she's actually doing is she is creating a 2-tier system rather than a universal one. Calgary would also see $1 billion for defenses on the Bow River, and we could see 10,000 kilometers of new highways at the cost of $1.4 billion, including a secondary highway out of Fort McMurray. Now, the city has desperately needed this for years, and back when Fort McMurray was burning, this was brought up yet again. However, Rachel Notley said, nope, we can't do it. It's funny how tunes change when we're in the middle of an election. Here's my personal challenge to the NDP. Let's put the gutter politics away, and rather than trying to buy votes or scaring people into voting for you, why not present something that will get our province back on track? Why not present something that will bring balance back? How about let's present something that is going to make our energy sector thrive again? Jason Kenney's UCP made a ton of announcements, from education to rural crime, forestry, Senate democracy, rules for MLAs, and our energy sector. When it comes to our oil and gas industry, he announced the UCP Fight Back strategy, where he has no issues being aggressive, and he would go after foreign-funded anti-oil groups who are attacking our energy sector by launching a public inquiry. He also promised a $10 million litigation fund for pro-development First Nations groups heading to court over major energy projects. As for education, a UCP government would return return to the former PC's Education Act with a back-to-basics approach. The NDP's controversial Bill 24 would be gone and the curriculum review would be halted. This announcement really caused an uproar based on the false assumption that Kenney would be this demonic presence with the goal of outing LGBTQ kids. This fear is completely unfounded. Schools would still be able to set up GSAs, and there would not be a mass outing of kids or parent notifications unless a child's health or safety are at risk. Alberta Forestry would also see a boost in funding with the Promotion, Protection and Partnership Program, particularly when it comes to the pine beetle infestation, and you bet Ottawa would be paying its fair share. We're still fairly early into the election, but predictions are already being made based on riding projections that the UCP will win and we will have the NDP in official opposition. However, the FCP figure that they're going to overtake the NDP for that spot. What are your predictions? Well, that's it for this week. I'll see you all next Friday for another recap of everything this Alberta election has to offer.